Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday, April 9th, I believe it is, right? Yeah, go with that. So, happy Tuesday, April 9th, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday. I'm excited because I signed the paperwork for HeavyCon as soon as we're done here today. So, I make the drive up to North Danvers for that. So, looking forward to that. Let's see what else is going on here. Live stream for Hornet Leader tomorrow. Well, I guess that's just over or just under 25 hours from now. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Albin Viard just sent me a prototype of the new Clinic Deluxe without all the custom wooden meeples because really, who can blame him for that? But what does that mean? That means you're going to see that in May on the streams. Let's see. We got you know what? Hold on. Before we get into the actual questions here, I want to bring up the calendar. Now, it's not going to be on screen, but you guys will just have to take my word for it. So let's see. What do we have here for the next 3 weeks? We have Hornet Leader coming up. Then we have a patron-only Ask the Elephant, which is where I go a little bit more in-depth and am a little bit more open with the patrons. That's a week from tomorrow as well. Then Small City live stream on Thursday. Ginkopolis live stream on Friday. Then the following next 13 days or so are insane. We have Wingspan on Monday the 22nd. Then a Glory to Rome stream, which is we don't use the Glory to Rome board that we normally use. We're ourselves. We don't self-edit on that live stream. That's going to be for a bus, and that's on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we have Space Corp episode. Then Tramways, the new Tramways that's currently on Kickstarter. We're going to be live streaming that. Then on Mars live stream on Friday. Democker, 4th edition. Yup, you guessed it. That's the new one on Saturday. 1889 on Sunday. This Guilty Land on Monday. And then Conversation with Heavy Cardboard with Mark Herman on Tuesday, April 30th. Yeah, pretty happy with how things are going. Pretty happy with the content. So hopefully you guys are as well. So I think things are trending well this in 2019. I'm pretty excited about it. It's spring. Hopefully you guys are excited about this stuff too, because the fact that y'all are here, I like to think that y'all are. So let's see. Let's get into some questions, shall we? We'll start with the guild. Will you be playing streaming cooperative version of CO2 Second Chance? William asks. Eventually, yes. Not a priority, honestly, right now. I know Khan said he'd be down for it, Mark, Jess, and me. So everybody that was on the semi-co-op or cooperative version, yeah. We'll be doing that again once we can get schedules aligned. So look for that maybe in May, possibly in June. Bill asked, so I answered this last month, but I'll answer it again, Bill. Said, sorry if I missed you responding to this last time, but how about an update on the old crew? Do you know what they're up to these days? Some of them don't talk to me anymore. Some of them I do talk to, like Brian Olmstead, Michael Brandt, Adrian over at Mile High Game Guys, Kleiker, Banker Dave. All those guys are still around for sure, and they still drop in from time to time, and I'm still in touch with them. I miss them all. I'm hoping that some of them can make it out to HeavyCon next month. And yeah, I miss my friends, but to the best of my knowledge, everybody that I just listed is doing really well. How did you meet the new people on the playthroughs in Massachusetts? Were they all patrons, guild members? They were all patrons because I live in a small apartment now, and I only have a certain amount of room for game days to host here. So I wanted to leave it or limit it to patrons to start with. But also there are a number of game groups that I am a part of here that I can pull from, meaning that, you know, that I've become friends with folks. And so they'll be dropping in from time to time when schedules allow. And so there's the, I mean, part of the reason I moved to the Boston area, Massachusetts in general, but the Boston area is because the vibrant gaming scene for heavy games that's up here. And so that's where that came from. And he says, guess I'm just curious about the supporting cast, both old and new, even more so since I saw Julie Ahern, who was 2 years ahead of me in high school on the Teotihuacan unboxing. So Julie's a personal friend of both mine and Jess's. She also is the publisher over at Greenbrier Games. She runs that. And being in the industry, there's a fair number of industry folks that are around here in the Boston area as well, including Julie. So she's a friend, but also just lives around here, so that helps too. So hopefully that answers that, Bill. And Robert asks, with Escape Plan reaching backers, are you planning a playthrough live stream of Escape Plan? Yep, you'll look for that the first half of May. We decided to do On Mars before Escape Plan, even though Escape Plan is being delivered, obviously, before On Mars, but we're trying to coincide the On Mars live stream with the early part of the Kickstarter, so that's why that. All right, so let's go back here. Let's see. Vince, it's 2 a.m. I'm on vacation in Taipei. Don't feel tired, even though I spent all the day drinking. Hope you're enjoying your vacation, Vince. Good deal. Aaron asks, which of the modular Food Chain Magnet expansions did you like the most? Is it streaming, and is it on the streaming pipeline? Well, good news, Aaron. I can only partially answer your question on which I like most, because honestly, I've only played with 2 of them. The coffee one is pretty nasty, in a good way, nasty. I like the idea of, I can't remember the name of the one where if you, it's kimchi. I like the idea of kimchi because every household, if you have kimchi, automatically wants kimchi because it's kimchi. Why wouldn't they? So I haven't played all of them. I know about most of them, but I haven't played all of them, so I can't speak to my favorite, although of the ones that I've played, I like the road construction one, where it can change the map partway through. I think there's just a lot of, I don't think there's any of them that I don't like, and I'm not saying this because the fellas are my friends. I'm saying this because really damn good expansion. I'm looking forward to it, of the ones that I've heard about and have played. As far as streaming, here's the good news part. Jeroen reached out a couple weeks ago and was like, hey, coming to while I'm there for HeavyCon, do you want to go ahead and stream the catch-up expansion? I was like, yeah, why don't we do that, Jeroen? So Jeroen's going to be in studio with us either before or after HeavyCon, which is Memorial Day weekend, May 23rd through May 26th. So when is that streaming? Sometime in late May. When exactly? I don't know, but yeah, pretty stoked about having that. New board order. What's up with your Reds getting into fights? They can't win, so you might as well fight. Actually, I appreciate the fact, and hold on, it's baseball. It's not a fight. It's a lot of hugging that goes on. That's about it. So let's be honest about that. But yeah, it was good to see David Bell come out and argue that I can't remember the pitcher should have been ejected. It was basically just trying to get himself run to try and fire up the team because the offense has been woeful. Oh, you have to hit play when the stream starts, huh, Alexander? I'm sorry. Yeah. So another thing, you see this gray bar right there on the chat? That's annoying. So sorry. Normally I try and hide it. You know what? Let's do this. There we go. And now we can make that a little bigger, but let's do this. There we go. Hey, now it doesn't look so bad. There you go. I like that. That's better. All right. Let's see what else. Chip, any chance we're going to see a squad leader stream? I assume you mean ASL, Advanced Squad Leader. I don't like your chances of that, Chip. I'm not going to say no, but I'm just going to say I don't like your chances. How's that? And heavy baseball, Chisholm? No, unless you mean sinking like a lead weight through the standings, which are my Reds. Wicked Loki. So much for taking it easy in April. Love the April games coming up. Me too. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, but let's face it. All of y'all have day jobs. All y'all are putting in your hours, so it only makes sense, right? Although my CPA is probably going to be really angry at me about next weekend, but that's okay. We'll manage. Unachimba asks, what do you think about the state of 18XX for 2019? 1824, 18 Chesapeake, 1861-67 coming to Kickstarter, 1862 coming out from GMT. Is 2019 the year 18XX breaks out? I would argue that it's already broken out, a lot more so than a lot of the gatekeepers would prefer it to. But I think this is amazing. But do I think this is the year it breaks out? I think it's already done that. I think it's trending well, and I think it's a positive direction. We're going to be streaming 89 later on this month. Yeah, looking forward to it. So I'm excited about the direction and the health of the hobby in general, including 18XX. Dylan asks, out of all those upcoming streams, what are you most excited about? Well, all of them. I mean, obviously. I mean, if you put a gun to my head, let me go back and look. I mean, legitimately, I'm looking forward to every single one of them. I'm not looking forward to teaching Small City or Geekopolis. Oh, actually, I stand corrected. I think Jess is teaching Geekopolis. But probably Democker, just because I'm really curious to see what the changes are. I don't have the game yet. I just have been told it's coming. So I'm betting on the come on that because I really like Democker and I want to see what all changes. Aaron, why don't you like Tigris and Euphrates? I don't know where you get that assumption. I do really enjoy Tigris and Euphrates. Why do you think I don't? Because we haven't streamed it? There's thousands of games we haven't streamed, Aaron. Is it the scoring? No, I enjoy it. It's very much, I'm not going to call it a lifestyle game, but it's a game that absolutely requires you to play early and often to get good at, which I realize I'm never going to be able to do as long as I have the show, which means I'm never going to be able to do that. But I think it was up for the patron vote for last month, which, by the way, I'm late on that. I need to get that up for April for the patrons. But no, I do enjoy it. Unless we're streaming it or getting ready for a review, I don't have a whole lot of time to play other games. So when the patrons vote for it, I'll be playing it some more. Felix says, hey, Edward. Hi, Felix. How you doing today? Stefan, have you tried the new edition of Endeavor, Age of Sail? I have. I actually played it at Gamma last year and have a copy of it. And that also is on the list of games for the patrons to vote on. So you'll see it eventually as well. Yeah, I enjoy it. I like it. Felix, any chance of doing Nemo's War? Yup. When? I don't know. But yup. Aaron, since the 20th anniversary edition of Roads and Boats is coming out, planning on redoing the teach and playthrough? Remind me, and I'm sure you guys will be able to tell me quicker than I can look it up. Were those all basement streams for Roads and Boats, or did we do one upstairs? I can't remember, and I may, if they're all basement streams, then yes, we will definitely be doing another Roads and Boats. Unachimba, what do you recommend as the next step or level for someone who's new to 18XX after 1846 and 1830? Probably more 1846 and 1830 or 1889, which makes 1830. It's basically 1830 on a smaller, more quicker map. After that, go through and read around and see what sounds interesting to you and go with that. That's what I would recommend. It's a deep, expensive hole that you go down. So both of those games that you listed have a lot of play in them. And I do mean 100 plays in them each, if not more. So you don't need to go out and get more necessarily. But if you wanted to, I don't know. You could look at some of the Depends whether you like the stock market shenanigans or whether you like more the operational side of things, what direction to go. There's 1862, there's 1817. There's literally 100 of them out there. So the next step, follow your heart. Find something that sounds interesting to you and go with that. New board order says, I'd like to see the capstone team with Ian O'Toole do like food chain magnate. That'd be cool, but probably not going to happen. I shouldn't say that. Unlikely, but you never know what's going to happen. Naveed, we should try to get herd game days together on the East Coast. Boston has a big, heavy gaming community. So does New York City and Philly. All three cities are close enough. Thoughts? Heavy cons next month, Naveed. Just saying. Outside of that, yeah, we could definitely do some game days, preferably up here. We could possibly do NYC. It's kind of centrally located, so we could see. Unajimba, are you doing Tracks 2019 in Denver? No, it's right before HeavyCon. It's the end of this month. And honestly, I heard about it for the first time last night. Literally, going through Slack, the Heavy Cardboard Slack channel. I heard about it there. No, I'm not doing it. Jim asks, what's the timing of the Yinzi playthrough? I don't know. I don't have a copy of it. Depends when Uli gets it to me. Anything scheduled yet with Uli? Yeah, Democker. And Democker is scheduled for, at least tentatively scheduled for Saturday, April 27th at noon. So that would be the first one. I don't know that I agree with this, Felix says. GMT dropping scramble in Africa due to the SJW is not good. I disagree with that. I think in today's political climate, number one, and number two, just out of decency and paying respect to history and treating it with respect, I think publishers and designers and developers and everybody that's involved in the creative task of creating these games have a responsibility to not only be respectful, but treat the subject matter with respect, which means being respectful of the history and not making light of the history. And I think the Scramble for Africa, I think that's the exact name, right? Or Scramble in Africa, that game. I think that's to be commended that they realized, you know what, maybe this is not the right direction, and the game doesn't handle it the way we want, and designer isn't putting out designer diaries in. Just the thought process there seems a little off. And so I commend GMT for doing what they did. I know a lot of people want to slam GMT for doing it to begin with. You know what? Everybody makes mistakes. And you have to allow for those mistakes. And it's how people and companies react to those mistakes is what matters. And I think that's a commendable thing. Does that mean colonization in Africa can't be a subject of a board game? Absolutely not. I disagree. Look at colonialism. I think that handled it in a good way, especially for 2013 when it came out. Now, look at how, well, I guess you guys will be able to see how other mature topics get handled when we stream This Guilty Land from Hollandspiel, talking about the I'm trying to think of the right words for this. I can't. I'll actually. I don't want to say the wrong thing. So a moment. The two players each represent an abstract idea, justice and oppression, while a third non-player faction, compromise, both helps and hinders them while seeking insidiously to maintain the untenable and abhorrent status quo of slavery in America. So I think these topics absolutely can be handled and turned into board games and handled in a respectful way. I think that the way GMT, the decision to step back from that game due to a number of the factors of the way that was being handled was commendable and good. But I do think that that does not preclude publishers from being able to step into hot button topics and time periods like these. It's just the way they're handled, and that's the important thing. So good job, GMT, on that, and good job on the community at large, calling them on it, and it seems to have the type of result that should have been reachable. It's 2019. We should be able to talk to one another and convey our opinions and thoughts and feelings and ideas to one another and come to a reasonable conclusion. So, yeah, I'm happy with it. So I don't know that I don't necessarily agree with you, Felix. I read something that somebody wrote about if you're GMT's hardcore wargame audience, you're happy that this game got pulled because now the limited production schedule doesn't get filled with this game. If you're a Euro-friendly crowd person, let's face it, there are plenty of other games that are coming out that will scratch itches for you. So it's kind of a win-win. And maybe we see a revised version of Scramble in or for Africa, whichever it was. And if so, if it's handled in a respectful way, then absolutely, I'd be all for it. So we'll see how that goes. Dragon asks, do you have the revised 2016 edition of Agricola and Farmers of the Moor? If so, will you stream it? Don't have it, Dragon. If I had it, yes, we would stream it, but I don't have it. New board order. Do you ever back Kickstarters? I really don't anymore. If so, what was the last one you backed? I'm curious. Might be more video game related. I might not. I might have to log in and go through all that process. If so, I'm not going to look it up. But, oh, you're in luck. I'm logged in. All right. So let's see. What games? Dunkirk, France, 1940. Argent, the Consortium. The Estates, I gave $1 to. Lovelace and Babbage, I gave $1 to. Let's see. Before that, that's as far back as it is asking me to log in at that point. So there you go. Yeah, mostly I back Kickstarters not for board games anymore. I just don't. I don't need to, and I just don't for the most part, unless it's to support somebody in particular. But there's still Kickstarters I'm looking forward to, like City of the Big Shoulders comes to mind, right? Naveed, anything we can do to help get the teaching notes updated and available to patrons? Yup. You know what? A moment. You'll hear from me. Jim, also, can you get Clay to redo the Glory to Rome Black Box edition? Good luck with that. I'm still trying to get him to do Hinkelstein, i.e. a box of rocks, so we'll see how that goes. Priorities, Jim. Box of rocks first. Hello, Charlie. Earl Grey for those scoring at home. All right, Day Drinking Vince says, yes, both Roads and Boat streams were basement streams. Well, I guess you can count on seeing another one then. And for those that don't know, when I say the basement streams, that's where we started this whole thing, the YouTube channel. And, ooh, they were rough. So, yeah, I want to redo all of those and bring them up. Or not necessarily all of them, but most of them. Roads and Boats definitely going to be one then. How do you say that? Arsini? Arsini? Bear with me, I'm trying. Says, been playing board games for 3 years, still have no idea what the hell 18XX is. Train game themed, heavy economic strategy games with shared incentives where players invest in train companies, start train companies, lay track, and build up the businesses. They have the game pushes along with, they have to build, or players and their companies have to acquire trains, i.e. the locomotives, to be able to run their routes. And those trains become obsolete. And it's a heavy economic game that has to do with stocks in those companies and running those companies. So there you go. That's it in a rough nutshell. And a very dark, deep hole of excellent games. Favorite soccer team, Stefan asks. I don't have one. So here's something interesting. Growing up as a sports ball, as a sports fan, so I have a favorite basketball team. I have a favorite college football, college basketball. So Oregon. I have a favorite hockey team. I have a favorite baseball team, and I have a favorite football team. I never really got into soccer. However, I have a really cool opportunity to pick a team. Like, I don't have a favorite. And, like, could be I don't know, any of the leagues, right? Over in Europe. It could be here, MLS here in the States or whatever. But I don't have a reason for, like, I don't follow soccer. But if I had a team, I might be inclined to do so. So the fact that I don't have a team, I feel like a free agent. I feel like a little kid. Like, I can choose a team. As an adult, that's almost never the case because you can't change allegiances to a team. Personally, I feel that if you're an adult, your team is your team. Whatever you grew up rooting for is what you grew up rooting for. So for me, for those who care, for baseball, Cincinnati Reds. I grew up an Eric Davis, Barry Larkin fan. For football, it's the Dallas Cowboys. My dad's from Dallas, Texas, so I grew up a Cowboy fan. I was there for the 1-15 season, so hey. I am an Oregon Duck fan. I grew up in Portland, Oregon. I am a Vancouver Canuck hockey fan because that's the closest professional team from Portland, but also my best friend up in Canada, Jody, is a season ticket holder for the Canucks. That is also why I absolutely detest everything that is the Boston Bruins and hate the Boston Bruins. The only team up here that I really strongly have feelings for one way or the other. Let's see. And I guess the Trailblazers for basketball, even though I don't follow pro NBA basketball that much. So I don't have a soccer team. So you know what? Somebody start a thread somewhere, not in the chat right now, but someone make compelling arguments as to why I should follow a team in soccer. And maybe I can become a fan of your team and we can see. All right. Orlando says, hi, Edward. What's your opinion on Roxley's iron clay chips? Are they worth the investment? Oh, there's that, my favorite word, worth. Are they worth it? Hell if I know, Orlando. That's up to you to decide. I can't say that. However, I do have, I think, 5 different sets of chips in this house. Currently looking over at some of the chips. They're quality chips, I will say that. You know what? I wasn't gonna, because I'm actually wearing basketball shorts, but that's all right. Hold on one second. Because it's warm in here today. All right, so I got some of my sets of chips in here. And I got the iron clays, or at least some of them. So let's take a look at them. Figure if you're going to ask, I might as well be able to. So the chips we use on the stream are the dice chips. These are cheap metal slug plastic chips that are heat stamped with the heavy cardboard logo on one side, denomination on the other side. These are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with these. If you want to be a chip snob, you absolutely can be. These are cheap. They are cheap and affordable, but they're fine. They are perfectly fine. They're standard, but they're perfectly fine. It also kind of like 18XX. Poker chips are a very, very deep, very dark, and very expensive wormhole to go down. They can be as cheap as, I don't know, like a set for like $40 on Amazon. I'm talking for like these dice chips or whatever. Might be as much as like 70 or $80 for a big set of these. I'm not sure, but I think these are cheaper than that. All the way up to like $2 and $3 a chip for custom made and custom designed chips. The other chips that we use on stream sometimes are these gem chips, which are clay chips, I believe. These were from a Kickstarter, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something. I'm real happy with these. I think these are great. Now, also keep in mind, as a former professional poker player, I'm pretty happy with quality casino chips. These gem chips are real nice. They're not cheap, but they're not as expensive as the custom ones. But the question you asked is about the iron clays. So I haven't played with these much. So let me see. The weight is okay. They're a little bit lighter. And they shuffle, they riffle just fine. So feel-wise, they feel a little plasticky. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying that the feel of these chips are not my favorite. They are perfectly acceptable, though. They are perfectly usable. They're good chips. These are quality chips. So would I be happy with these? Absolutely. I think it's a little bit weird that the blue are 5s, but again, I'm used to whites are 1s, the reds are 5s, 10s are blue, and the greens are 25. Now, if you're an 18XX connoisseur, you shouldn't use 25s. You should use 20s, usually grays for 20, I agree with. Blacks being 100s. These are a little slick for my liking. Like, if you put a gun to my head, are these my favorite chips? No. Are they damn good and acceptable? Absolutely. These are perfectly usable. So, yeah. I would recommend everybody have at least one set of poker chips, because any games that come with either Tiddlywink Martin Wallace money, get rid of that. Paper money especially, or any crappy cardboard money. Not all cardboard money is crappy, mind you. Some is better than others. So, there you go. That was way down further than I expected to go, but there you go. And if you really want, there are a couple threads over on BGG that you can spend a day or two reading about poker chip threads or about poker chips. I would love to get some custom-made heavy cardboard ones with Trains, Davis. And people want me to make custom poker chips available. Y'all got to realize, do you know how heavy poker chips are to ship? Plus, if I'm going to make quality chips, I'm not going to skimp. And no one's going to want to put out $500 to $1,000 for a poker chip set. Come on. I mean, I would as a one-of-a-kind type thing, but no one's going to want to buy those. Plus pay the shipping on it. Nobody's going to want to do that. So that's why I haven't invested the time to do that. All right? All right, so let's see. Yeah, and part of the Peanut Gallery also answered that question for you as well. Oh, what? Naveed says, favorite non-board gaming hobby. And no, Edward, poker doesn't count. Why doesn't it count? It's not fair. Poker. Okay, outside of that, cooking. Easily cooking. You can ask Jess. Or honestly, some of the guys, some of the folks from game day, they get the benefits on game days. I tend to cook for them. That's my reward to that, or my way of saying thank you for helping out with the streams and everything else. So cooking would be favorite hobby. I mean, board games, right? But it's my job, so is it a hobby? Right? Poker, and then cooking. There you go. Giovanni, he said, who's going to win the Final Four? Well, Virginia, obviously. Virginia won. Oh, hopefully you've seen that already, Giovanni. Sorry. The team that beat Oregon's going to win going to win it all, obviously. Any other conversations coming out? Favorite thing you do? Appreciate that, Dylan. I think I really enjoy doing them as well. I think I'm pretty good at it. Mark Herman, the end of this month. That's the next one. And Grand Austria Hotel, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it 2. I enjoyed it 3. I won't play it at 4. It's way too long for 4. Con, what's your favorite Age of Steam map? Is it the Soul Train map? Yes, because I think that's so quirky and so weird. Although there are a lot of maps that I really like for Age of Steam. Montreal Metro is fantastic. The moon will mess with your head, something fierce, and ideal with 3 players. I think it's Swedish Recycling, or is it the recycling map is also really good. I mean, there's a lot of good maps. There's what, 160? Least favorite Age of Steam map you've played? Ooh, good question. Huh. I don't know if I have a least. I mean, by default, I would, right? But I can't think of anything that stands out that says, ooh, The only, my first few times playing Age of Steam would probably be my least favorite maps, but not because of the maps. I cannot stress how important it is to match up the player count to the right map. Each map has a specific player count. Don't go outside that. And even within that player count, there is it's good, it's recommended, it's good, and it's best at this player count. If you have the luxury of being able to choose, try and play the maps at their best player count. Why not have the game shine at its best, right? Stefan says, pick Liverpool as your favorite soccer team, Edward. Doesn't work like that, Stefan. You're going to have to come and sell me on it. Not in the chat right now, but you're going to have to make a compelling argument. I only get to do this once in my life. It's going to have to be, with some meaning behind it. Arseny says, no problem, close enough. All right, I'm trying, though. All right. Is it true you're secretly rooting for the Yankees? No. There's probably an equal chance of me rooting for the Cubs or the Cardinals as it is the Yankees. And I hate the Cubs and Cardinals with the passion of 1,000 suns. It's up there with the Boston Bruins. So no, not rooting for the Yankees. Sorry, Gio. Yeah, the Revolution practices in Foxborough. So that would be kind of nice to have a local team. I'm not going to lie. Have a local team to be able to root for. Because I've never lived and been a fan of that team in that city. That'd be really nice to be able to do and not be that guy who always roots for the opposing team. Because, if the Reds come up here to Fenway, I go to a Reds game, I'm going to be rooting for the Reds, so I'm that guy, right? So I'd like to go to a game at Fenway this year, which I'm going to, be able to root for the Red Sox because I don't have a dog in the fight because American League, right? Vince says, you always drink Earl Grey. Do you? Not always. That just a lot of the time I do, Vince. Do you ever drink Chinese tea? Pure, oolong, green tea, yellow tea, etc. Do you have a favorite? Yes, oolong. Absolutely. I am a big fan of oolong. I'll be honest, I've never I have never sipped yellow tea, and I've never tasted pu'er as well. So Vince, Heavy Con, bring some, please. All right. Dylan, if I was you, Edward, I'd be in boxers. Just in case I have to get up, can't take that risk. I mean, these go for a couple hours. I've thought about it. Just kidding. Or am I? Yeah, paper money with Millennium Blades. That's an exception, Con, just because of the fact that they're bundles. They're not individual paper money. It's bundles of money, so that's different, right? Alexander says I have a set of chips with 25s, but I will consider. I was considering making a second chip for an 18XX bank with iron clays. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Dragon says, thanks to you, I bought Madeira a few months ago. It's quickly become one of my and my wife's favorite games. Also have high hopes for Keyflower. That'll be delivered soon. Thanks for your help. Hey, that's my job. Mission accomplished. And Tony Boydell. Hi, Tony. He says, kickstart custom chips, man. Because I have so much time to be able to invest in that too. Maybe one day. Let's revisit this in 2020, guys. Can we do that? I'm cool with that. Tony Boydell thought I said cocaine as my favorite hobby instead of cooking. What do you mean? Dragon giving tea recommendations. Da Hong Pao tea was my warmest recommendation. Like I've never even heard of these. This is awesome. Grand Austria Hotel. I don't think we've streamed it. I don't think we have. I don't know that I have a copy. Matt had a copy when he was my roommate, but I don't think I have a copy of it. So I don't know that it's going to show up anytime soon on the streams, but always could. Bobby says, I was able to get Shogun to the table with your assistance. Awesome. Glad to hear it, Bobby. What is my favorite food to cook? Oh, all right. Well, if you're talking like regional, like I can't think of the right word, but like nationality, Mexican, Italian, whatever. To cook, it's probably Mexican. To eat is definitely Mexican. That's not to say that I don't love me a good steak. That's probably my like death row meal. I love Italian. I love Thai. I love Indian food. But you put a gun to my head, it's going to be Mexican food. My favorite single dish, my single favorite dish to make, and also what I think is my best dish that I make, so like my favorite to eat that I make, it's involved, but it's Pollo Ciudad. It's a city chicken. And the way I make it, at least, is a base of homemade Mexican rice. Then on top of that, a skin-on, boneless chicken thigh, pan-fried in a cast iron skillet with just a little salt and pepper on top. That's all you need. Make that skin nice and crispy. Then on top of that, some sauteed pasilla peppers, or just peppers in general, and onions. Then the two most important parts of this dish, outside of the chicken skin, arguably, is a cilantro mushroom cream sauce thickened with egg yolks that is warm and delicious and so good. And then the piece de resistance is a pickled tomato relish with serrano chilies that is extremely spicy, and you don't get a lot of it. You just make a big tower of all of this with the tomato relish, the pickled tomato relish on top. And when you get everything in one bite, that's as good a food as I know how to make. It is. That's the pinnacle of what my skill Yeah, that's the pinnacle of my skill level and what I think is amazing, delicious food. I want to make that for game day for folks one of these days when things aren't crazy, and I would like to do that. So there's that. All right. Time of Crisis expansion must be streamed. Thank you. Yes, sir, Felix. Look for that in May or June for sure. Oh, yeah. Rainer. Hi, Rainer. From Board and Dice says, Edward, seeing as we have Tony Boydell in chat, might be interesting to mention the Snowdonia Easter egg. So for those of y'all that were privy, and if you haven't watched it, I would recommend going and watching it. The unboxing video that was streamed on April 1st with Rainer in studio, you'll understand the very first thing that was in that video, the apple and banana. There is a heavy cardboard promo coming out for Snowdonia. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that's good enough. Chip, have you seen the Vorpal board Kickstarter? The platform for playing all your favorite tabletop games with friends online using the actual pieces. I have not. Interesting. No, I haven't. I might look into that, Chip. That sounds weird, but so platform for playing all your tabletop friends or games with friends online. So if we're playing a 4-player game, does that mean we need 4 copies of the game? Or does one person have the pieces and they have to move all 4? I don't know how that would work or how that sounds better than playing online, which I don't enjoy doing. I'd much rather sit around a table. So there's that. All good, Gio. Well, and now Bob says don't pick Liverpool. They're the Penguins of the Premier League. No, it's not a cop-out, Vince, for answering least favorite Age of Steam map. Dude, when it comes to questions like that, I can't remember every map that I've played. I mean, I'm kind of tired of the Rust Belt map because I introduce new players a lot of the time with that map, so I don't know. Stefan asks, I was wondering what defines a heavy board game. I mean, go back to the podcast and the way I review games and the way we always have on this show. We have 5 components that we think contribute to the weight of a game. So you have the rules overhead, first off. How much does that impact the learning and how hard is the game to play, right? Rules overhead, mechanical complexity. Then you have the depth of the gameplay, which there are some people that feel that's the only component that matters when it comes to talking about the weight of a game. I disagree, but I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I disagree. But that is probably the single most important aspect of it. I would agree. The third one that we consider is the amount of luck and or randomness that is in a game. That is, yeah. And so less luck, less randomness. The usually the more the heavier the game. That is not a hard fast rule, but there's that. The fourth one being the time investment of a game. So a game could be heavy, but it could be quick playing. It could be deep and could be relatively quick playing. But are you telling me that it doesn't require some amount of a skill set? Call it a skill set, but to be able to sit at a table for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes, possibly longer for some of the big games, to be able to keep mentally involved and stay on top of things. It's kind of like when you're sitting at a poker table for a long session. You need to be able to mentally have the ability to stay engaged and stay mentally sharp for that amount of time. So I think that is a factor that should go into whether or not that contributes to the weight of a game. And the last one is the getting it factor, right? How long does it take to get a game? A Tom Russell, Phil Eklund, Cole Worley game. Those are not the most always clear and very easily digestible games. So it takes a while to get. It took me 3 games of PAX Premier, the second edition, to understand really what it is I'm trying to do in that game. Should that contribute to the weight of a game? I think so. So I think those 5 factors are things that contribute to the weight of a game. So hopefully that answers your question. Hi, Andrew. How you doing today? Are you enjoying the content, Andrew? I haven't heard from you much, so I'd really be interested to hear what you think of the content and how you think things are going. So Andrew asks, regarding the sponsorships that you've received, the show doesn't have any sponsors. Let's be clear on that. So what Andrew is referring to are the partnership deals that we have. So before we go any further and we get into his question, let's go ahead and clarify some things. So hopefully this puts this to bed. Now, some people might argue it's semantics. Some people might argue that it's a very thin line that I am skirting. And okay, that is, people's opinions are valid. You can have your opinion, but here is how I see things. We have currently 6, I believe, partnerships right now. And these partnerships are for sponsored playthroughs for some of the games that these publishers are putting out. Now, before I go further on that, let me step back and explain one other thing. To me, the YouTube channel and the podcast are separate entities in that on the YouTube channel, what do we do here on the live streams? So let's go over the content that we do here. We do live streams, so we do teach and playthroughs of games. We do interviews. We do the Q&As, the Ask the Elephants like this. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a little, we'll do a top 6 here or there, but that's crossover between the two. But for the most part, it's live streams over here, reviews on the podcast. I've never done a live stream review. I've never done a review on the YouTube channel. And vice versa, we've never played through a game on the podcast. So to me, they are separate entities. And so the partnerships that we have are for teach and playthroughs of games that these publishers are coming out with. Now, the 6 partnerships, and I'm worried that I'm not going to remember who they are, so give me a minute to write these down so I make sure I get them all. I got 4 so far. You know what? I'm going to cheat and make sure I don't forget any. There we go. James, to the rescue. Here we go. So we have 6 partnerships right now. We have AV Studio Games. That's Albin Viard. So pretty much Albin Viard has 2 series of game or 2 sets of games. The lighter stuff and then stuff like Clinic and Small City and all that stuff. Our partnership is for the heavier games. So whenever he's going to put out a heavier game, we're going to be doing a sponsored live stream of it. So what is a sponsored live stream? So a sponsored live stream usually coincides either with a release of a game or the Kickstarter of a game. All right. And so they use it for marketing. And normally, and going forward, I can definitively say always, these won't have roundtable discussions in them. So they are informational. We're going to teach the game, and we're going to live stream and play through the game and let you make your own decisions. So that's AV Studio Games for his heavier games. So stuff like Small Cities, Tramways, and Clinic, those type games. Then there's Capstone. Capstone has 2 lines of games, and for the most part, all of his heavier games, we're going to be doing that for. And for some of the Simply Complex games and the Iron Rails series of games as well. Then there's Compass Games. Compass Games puts out a ton of games, war games, They have Stellar Horizons coming out. They have some Euros coming, and we're going to be doing some of their games mix and match, but they're all going to be on the heavier end of the spectrum. Then we have a partial one with Eagle Griffin. Eagle Griffin, they did Age of Steam with us, and we're going to do all of Vital's games, so Escape Plan on Mars and subsequent games. Ion Game Design, that's Phil Eklund's games, and anything that comes out from Ion Game Design directly. So you're talking High Frontier 4th Edition, BIOS Origins, BIOS Genesis, PAX Transhumanity, stuff like that. So again, we'll double back. And then, of course, there's Spielworks. Spielworks being, well, I mean, Uli puts out 1, maybe 2 games a year, and all of those we're going to be. All right, so there's that. So, sponsored live streams, informational, and used for marketing. So they pay us to do these sponsored live streams. It benefits them because it goes in front of y'all, our audience, and it benefits us because, hey, it helps offset some of the money that we're to help keep the show going along with our patrons over on pledgehc.com. And it benefits y'all, the viewers, because you guys get to see these games earlier, and usually if it's during a Kickstarter or during a pre-order or something like that, it helps you guys make an informed decision on whether or not it's a game that you think would be good for you and your group. So it's kind of a win-win-win all the way around. And these specific partnerships, every single one of them was reached out by me to them. Some were and I'll be honest, I think you can make a case that all 6 just make a whole lot of sense because they all are in our wheelhouse. These are games that we would have been bringing y'all anyways, but we're bringing them in a more timely fashion for you guys. So that's sponsored live streams. So that's what these partnerships are for. That's it. That's where that line ends. Now, if we were to do reviews of these on the podcast, I couldn't give 2 squats whether or not they were sponsored live streams or their partners or not. The games stand on their own merit. I've been doing this show for almost 5 years now. I feel like I've earned a degree of trust between, and now we're switching over to the podcast side of things. I think I've earned a degree of trust with my listeners that, you know what, I'm going to call a spade a spade. If something's messed up, I'm going to call you out on it. So Uli, I have called him to the carpet about his rule books previously. When Uli came to Heavy Cardboard HCHQ in Denver, and he sat down for an interview in my studio, I addressed this. I brought this up face to face. And you know what he said? He said, "Yep." And we messed that up. Although he used an expletive, and I'm trying not to do that here. And you know what? Every single one of these partnerships, I have made abundantly clear, or they have made clear to me that they don't want this influencing the reviews because they respect me and my professionalism, and I respect every single person involved in this process to not infringe upon that professionalism. And honestly, it just comes down to a question of integrity. So, with these partnerships, does this mean that I can't be objective? Hey, guess what, y'all? My reviews were never objective. Reviews, by definition, are not objective. They are my opinion of the game, or mine and or whoever else I have as a guest host. I'm not trying to be objective. I don't want an objective review. You know what an objective review is? Reading the rule book. So, that said, do I think that having a partnership for a live stream for informational purposes is going to somehow creep into my ability to give a fair, honest, and thorough review of these games? No. But ultimately, you're the judge of that. Ultimately, you have to decide whether or not, you know what? I'm giving you enough information in the reviews to make your own decision and come to your own conclusions because I'm telling you the why of why I do and don't like things. So you have to make that decision on whether or not I have integrity. You have to make that decision on whether or not I'm honest and I am worthy of your trust. So ultimately, I feel yes, but you have to make that decision. So hopefully that clears up the partnerships being for playthroughs. One other thing I want to address. I think I've made some mistakes in the past. I've made exceptions for roundtable discussions on sponsored live streams. For instance, let's talk about the bus live stream. It's a 20-year-old game. It's been out there. The game's not changing. The graphic design is. So I thought, you know what? We'll go ahead and do a roundtable on that. And I've done that in a couple other places where I've been talking about a game for a couple of years. So it's pretty well known that I'm excited about this game. However, you know what? That was probably a mistake. So, you know what? If they're sponsored live streams, we're not going to do a roundtable discussion no matter what anymore. I will give my thoughts over in Slack. I'll write up some thoughts on my thoughts on the game, but that's probably it. Because I am a gamer and I am entitled to an opinion on things, I'm just not going to share them in those streams. So hopefully that puts that to rest. And ultimately, that's where I fall on this, and I feel comfortable with this. The podcast, any sponsorships that we get for the podcast will not be publishers. I've been presented opportunities and have passed up tens of thousands of dollars for an opportunity for publishers to sponsor the podcast, and I'm not, because I don't want I feel like that would be crossing a line, and some people would argue that these partnerships do. I disagree, but you're entitled to your opinion. But that's where I fall on this, and I really hope that this helps clarify and hopes maybe not put to bed, but at least let you guys know where I come from in a very clear way, so that I hopefully don't have to address this anymore. And ultimately, like I said, you guys are going to be the judge on whether or not, I feel he's telling the truth, or he's being honest about his opinion on a game. So there you go. I hope that puts that to bed. So all that said, Andrew, let's go ahead and address your question regarding the, allow me a little privilege here to remove sponsorships and put in partnerships. Regarding the partnerships that Heavy Cardboard has, at what point does a media journalistic organization become a marketing organization? Or do you see a need to differentiate between media and marketing? Well, honestly, I think I just covered that. I feel that the sponsor playthroughs can be, those aren't journalistic. That would be marketing in the sense that I think of them as informational. I'm presenting the game. I'm teaching you how to play the game, and I'm showing you the game. And by me, I mean me and whoever else is around the table with me, and letting you, the viewer, make your own opinion on whether or not the game is a good fit for you. I would hope that people don't think that we're hamming it up. And people have said this numerous times also, that you know what instruction they've been given before a live stream? Everybody that sits on these, have fun. So every time, before every live stream in the history of the show, hey, let's have fun, guys. Fist bump, fist bump, fist bump, fist bump. Or if Jess is here, I'll give her a smooch. That's the direction that everyone's given before a live stream. So what you see is what you see. And there have been plenty of times, there have been people on live streams that don't enjoy it. But I think it's important for you guys to be able to see that. So I think we do a pretty good job of that. And if people disagree, they have a choice on whether or not to consume the content. So hopefully that answers your question, Andrew, and I hope that that helps you and everyone else that has questions regarding integrity. I hope that helps. Genuinely, I really hope that helps, because ultimately, while it's my line of work, and this is my chosen profession, and this is my chosen way of providing a livelihood to myself, I'm still a gamer at heart. And you know what? I have opinions. I have predispositions. I have all of these things. Anybody that says otherwise, well, they'd be wrong. They'd be lying, right? And I don't hide from that. So hopefully that helps. All right, let's move on, shall we? Vince says, being in Taipei for a few days, I picked up 2 games, Coffee House, analog lunchbox game about being a newspaper, getting stories from coffee house gossip, and Coffee Roasters, the single-player game about roasting coffee. Do you have any thoughts on those 2 games? I would like to try both of those games, Vince. That's my thoughts on those. I haven't played them, but that sounds awesome. I love the idea of Coffee House. Being a newspaper about getting stories from coffee house gossip. I think that's hysterical. That's awesome. Bill, where do you get my tea? Any specific brands or stores you like? Boy, I'm going to lose respect to some of y'all. I'll be honest. I drink so much tea right now that I've been just buying bags of tea. I'm sorry. Not loose leaf. I do have some, so I don't have a place in particular. As far as favorite brands, there's actually a Earl Grey tea bag that I've actually been enjoying. It's what I've been drinking. I'm really enjoying this, and I think it's Stash. I think is what that one is. I think it is. Oh shoot, it's kind of a yellowish red box. Ask me that next month, Bill, and I'll have an answer for you. All right. Luke says, how do you spell the name of this dish? Pollo Ciudad. Pollociudad. Mark P, when things aren't crazy. So not anytime soon, I imagine. Welcome to my life. I enjoy it this way, I guess. Best gaming experience so far this year. Best move in a game so far this year ever. Oh, boy, I'm terrible at these on-the-spot questions like this. So probably my... the April 1st stream ranks up there. I think the very last round of Race for the Chinese Zodiac was pretty funny. It was a pretty good time. The bus one was pretty good. I'm just trying to remember when I laughed and had a really good time. Honestly, playthrough-wise, and again, this is just the guy talking about his own work here. I think the Churchill stream was amazing. I think that was really, really good, and I think the 3 of us showed the game off really well. And it was awesome having Mark Herman in there, and the fact that he was keeping score the last couple of conferences. That was a cool experience for me. Being able to sit down and talk to Cole for the conversations, that was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to next weekend. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, but ever like best, I can't think of anything like that off the top of my head, Colin. I'm sorry. All right. Harney's Russian Country Tea. All right, I'm making a note here, Dragon. By the way, Dragon, are you Russian by any chance? The that sounds like a Eastern European name, but I'm not sure. So just the Russian country is why I asked. Tea. Got it. All right. Dragon, you recommend me games, I'll recommend you tea. Deal? Deal. I'm on board with this. All right, Luke asks, I've heard you say that you don't usually enjoy co-op games. That is a true statement. I was wondering if you could talk about that a bit. Which ones have you tried? What about it didn't grab you? Have you enjoyed any? All right, so let's talk about why I play games to begin with. I think that's probably the most important thing. I originally got into this hobby as a replacement for being able to play poker competitively. Now, obviously, I can still go to the casino the whole 9 yards, but I played poker professionally for a few years until online poker was taken from the U.S. market in 2011, 2012, somewhere one of those 2 years on Black Friday, April 2011, 2012. So I had to get back into doing a different job, but that competitive competition of decision making was and still is the big draw for me for poker. Uh, if I make better decisions than you make over the long haul, I'm going to make more money than you. On a single hand of poker, anything can happen. Seven deuce can beat pocket aces. Seen it happen. But long haul, aces are going to crush seven deuce. So that competition of decision making is what compels me and draws me to board games, and specifically draws me to the heavier side of the hobby. So it goes back to what I had talked about regarding the things that contribute to the weight of a game. That lack of luck. There can be some randomness, some luck in a heavy game. There is in poker too, right? So when you think about it from that viewpoint, co-ops take that away. It's not a competition of decision making. You and I aren't competing. We're competing against a predetermined game and a preset set of rules that it must follow. I don't derive my enjoyment in this hobby from that. So that is why I don't like co-ops. Is it because they're bad games? Oh, God, no. Not at all. I've never played Pandemic. Pandemic is hella popular. Does that mean I'm wrong or the people that like Pandemic are wrong? No, of course not. I just play games for different reasons. So that said, any game that can be soloed can be a co-op. I've played Freedom, the Underground Railroad, and I enjoy it, I think, because of the theme and the way it handles the theme. So normally I say that theme schmeme, I don't need it to enjoy a game. But a good, compelling, or unique, or something off the beaten track theme is going to motivate me and be more interesting to me on the surface, right? It's going to make me kind of want to dig into it a little bit. So, but at its core, am I ever clamoring to play Freedom, the Underground Railroad? No, and it has nothing to do with the thing. It has to do with the fact that it's co-op. I will play it, but I don't ever, you know what I want to play today is a co-op. But that's not to say that they're not great games. They're just not great games for Edward. So there you go. So I've played a few others off the top of my head. I can't think of them. I apologize. I haven't played Pandemic. I know Catan is not a co-op, but I've never played Catan. But yeah, just co-ops really aren't my bag, and hopefully that explains why. Okay? Thanks, Vince. James asks, what's Jess's status at Heavy Cardboard? Partner, contributor, I have daughters, and they only want to watch playthroughs with females playing, so I think she adds a lot, whatever her status. Her status is, she's my partner. She's my girlfriend. She's on the live streams, and she has a lot going on in her own personal life that the world is not privy to and doesn't need to be privy to. And so she helps out behind the scenes a little bit here or there. So what is her status? She is my partner, and she helps out with Heavy Cardboard. That is her status. And I think she brings a lot. I think she is a pain in the ass to play against, and I think that's a really good thing. She thinks about the games in ways that the rest of us don't. And I don't mean that because she's a woman. I mean that because she's arguably the smartest human being I know. And I know some MIT, doctorate holder folk. I have a bunch of geniuses in this group, and I did back in Denver as well. And I think that Jess brings a whole lot to the live streams. And when she decides, or when she's able, and when it matches up and she is a guest host, she is a guest host. She has been on for one episode and maybe on subsequent episodes. Greg's been on a couple of episodes, so on and so forth. So what is her status? She is my partner, and she helps out with the show. But that's that. But yeah, I do try and work the schedule so that she can be on the majority of live streams, because you know what? I think she's good for the live streams, and I think she brings a lot to them, and I think she's a benefit. Plus, she's my girlfriend, and that's my prerogative. So there you go. So that hopefully answers your question, James. If anybody ever becomes a partner of Heavy Cardboard again, because right now Heavy Cardboard is me and y'all, but it's me. If that changes, you guys will know it. It won't be, oh, not quite sure. You'll know. The world will know, I assure you. Okay? Take care, Banker Dave. Thanks for hanging out. Oh, okay, there. And Jess just answered the question as well. I'm a contributor like anyone else who plays on the streams. I'm just lucky enough to do it often. There you go. And G says, Eric, I assume you meant Edward. As long as you're the only one making the calls, your decision to look for partnerships with publishers is the right one because you know it's the right thing to do. I assure you, when it comes to decisions for Heavy Cardboard, I do have people that I reach out to whose opinions I value, and I value their input. But ultimately, when it comes to a decision regarding Heavy Cardboard, there's only one person making those decisions. Me. So there you go. And G says, however, if Heavy Cardboard gets to have more show moderators or more partners, the weaker link will give in behind your back if necessary. And he's seen it happen before. I hear you. These are handpicked. These aren't just, I say no to a lot more sponsored live streams than I say yes to, I assure you. And Banker Dave says, amen to the fist bump, Edward. See? Banker Dave's been on enough live streams. He knows what's up. Kabuki Kid. Tea. Earl Grey. Hot. Yes. Jonas, go back towards the beginning of the Ask the Elephant today. I touched on Scramble for Africa already and covered that. Kabuki Kid said the Churchill stream was an excellent one. Merc Harmon being there was cherry on top. I agree. That was awesome. That was really cool. Oh, okay, there you go. Dragon is a Serbian name. So I was right that it's Eastern European. So there's that. Born to Serbian parents, but born and grew up in Sweden for the last 20 years and have been living in New Zealand. All right, that's cool. Good deal. Kabuki Kid says, since you don't like co-ops, I assume you don't also like RPGs. Have you ever played any pencil and paper RPGs like D&D or whatnot? Yes, I played Rifts back as a kid. I played D&D. A little bit of that, but I had a pretty rough childhood, and we moved around a lot. So I never really was able to put down roots to be able to have something like that. So more often than not, what I ended up doing is making a lot of characters, rolling, for characters, and then doing it all over again, or reading through the player's handbook, or reading through the monster manual, or doing stuff. Didn't get a whole lot of chance to play through stuff like that. However, if I get an RPG itch, and I do, I tend to like solo video games for that. Stuff like Skyrim and Fallout and like Borderlands or Red Dead Redemption and stuff like that. That scratches that RPG itch for me. And that's why, while I can appreciate Gloomhaven and I respect it and I think it's one hell of an impressive accomplishment, it's not for me. Gloomhaven, if I want the Gloomhaven experience, I'm gonna play a video game for that. That's not to say I wouldn't do an RPG. And Vince says, I'd happily run a one shot for Edward and a few others at HeavyCon. I'd be down for that. I think that'd be fun. I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I also, it's not something that I would ever want to do a lot of. But yeah, as a once in a while, sure, that'd be cool. Jim says, Banker Dave, I hope to see you on an upcoming playthrough should the logistics work out. I'd love to have Dave here. That'd be cool. Love the Edward Banker Dave banter, especially when the non-Glory to Rome playthroughs that turned into bleep playthroughs with Banker Dave. Felix says J-Rex is the only person that to pronounce the Teotihuacan words correctly. That is true. She's much better at pronunciations than pretty much any of us. Yes. Skippin says, I think most players, most people's RPG experience is character making. So in that case, then yes, I have. All right. Luke says, more than any channel I watch, you share your personal life. It gives the show character, but is it difficult to balance? Do you ever regret sharing? How did you come to the decision to be so open? Oh, glad you asked such a light question, Luke. Cup number 2. More Earl Grey. All right, Luke, let's tackle this one. More than any channel I watch, you share your personal life. It gives the show character, but is it difficult to balance? A lot more so in the last 10 months. Do you ever regret sharing? Yes. How did you come to the decision to be so open? All right, well, that's the easiest part of this to answer. I'm debating how to go about explaining this. I would agree with you that of people that consume media in general, and let's just try and limit it to board game media, y'all probably know more about me than you know about anyone else. More about Tom, Sam, Z, Rado, John, Efka and Elaine, Shut Up and Sit Down, fellas, Rodney. I'm sure there's a ton of others, but you get the idea. Trying to hit all the big ones out there, kind of. And I'm sure I missed some of those even, right? Chaz, etc. Y'all know more about me than you know about any of them, I would reckon. That is intentional for multiple reasons. The first and foremost reason is this is me. The Edward that you see on camera before you right now and before you on any of the live streams is me. The only difference between me on camera and me not on camera is I tend to cuss more when I'm not on camera. It's a whole lot easier to be me, the real me, and not have to be a character, the character of Edward, or the phony Edward. There are plenty of people that when they get in front of a camera are very different than who they are off camera. I have encountered this to my surprise and to my detriment to some degree since I've been doing this. But it's a whole lot easier for me to just be me because, well, and it's authentic. Now, that's not to disparage anybody else. And I'm not talking about a single other person. I'm talking about me in this. It's a whole lot easier for me to just be me and take it or leave it, and I'm okay with that because I'm pretty okay with who and what I am. And also, because I travel to conventions and other places, whatever, I want people to know me. Like whenever I meet folks at conventions, they come up to me and it's some people they kind of make like have a joke on themselves that they act like they know me and like we're friends because they know me from the live streams. Because you know what? That's me. This is me. I mean, you guys never see me. I won't say never, but you guys rarely see me other than positive and happy and all of that stuff. Because I do try and project that as much as I can. And I feel like I have a responsibility to y'all to do that as well. But yeah, it's just easier for me to be me on camera, and it's more natural to me. This is how I choose to be. Do I regret it? There's some real ugly people out there, man. I certainly don't, and I would argue that the majority of us out there that do this, either full-time, part-time, whatever, don't see ourselves as anything even close to a celebrity. So let's knock that out of the way. However, I am a known entity. People know my face, they know my voice, whatever, because I've been doing this for a number of years. With that comes, you know what? Skippin's here. I'll use Skippin's thing that he had said yesterday, the day before. I forget what it was. He said something that I definitely don't agree with, but that seems to be the general consensus of people. And let me, if you'll give me just a moment, and I'm not picking on Skipping at all. So people can be really ugly to other people on the internet, whether they're names and faces like me or Jess or anyone else out there, or just random people on the internet. Skippin says, "It's the price you pay for being a public figure in the space you have chosen. You will take criticisms, praise, fair and unfair." And that is a statement of fact. I am going to do that. We all have to do that. But it doesn't mean we have to accept and have to be willing to be okay with the unfair part. I'm okay with corrective criticism and constructive criticism. God knows there's plenty that I can improve, both on the podcast as well as the YouTube channel. Every day, I have yet to have a perfect live stream. I have yet to have a perfect teach that I am like, I nailed that. Not a single time in all of the games that I've taught have I felt that way. Or a perfect episode on the podcast. Not one. Or perfect interview or anything like that. So I have plenty that I can improve upon. And I'm constantly learning, both from a technical standpoint as well as a creative standpoint, how to be better at this. But it still doesn't give people permission to be ugly. And there are a handful of folks out there that do consume my content and the heavy cardboard content that are just straight up ugly people. And I feel bad for them, because it's not constructive criticism. It's just ugly. And you know what? It hurts. It hurts a lot. And that's the part of this that nobody ever sees. And that's intentional. You guys shouldn't see that. That's not what you're here for. And I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for you guys to see it. What I do ask, though, don't be ugly. Whether it's to me, to Jess, to anybody that's on this show, or anybody in general. Don't be that person. Because I don't care about the anonymity of online. Don't do it. There are real people behind the camera, behind the microphone, or behind the keyboard. Just random people. Don't do it. Corrective criticism? Absolutely, yes. Do that. Because that helps improve everything across the world. That is good. That is healthy. Don't be ugly. Don't do it. If I'm talking to you, don't do it. If I'm not talking to you, don't start. Be nice. You can give corrective criticism and constructive criticism and not be a douche canoe about it. Do that. So do I regret it? Some of it. I mean, going back to the last summer when Amanda and I split up and divorced, there are very few people that know the whole story, but I imagine if they did, maybe people would feel a little bit different. But people make their own assumptions on things. That's another thing I would recommend. Don't assume things. So you can offer criticism and not be ugly about it. So the other thing that I would recommend, sorry to get on a soapbox here, but this has been coming on strong lately, is just why not make the world better? Why not try and bring a smile to somebody's face? I'm not saying you can't criticize. Understand that. Whether it's me, whether it's Tom, whether it's anybody. But just remember, before you hit send, like, oh God, I can't think of his name, former coach of the Jets. Don't hit send. Be constructive, be positive. Takes no more effort than it does to be ugly. And you know what? Maybe you make the world a little bit of a better place. Do that. So do I regret it? I regret some of it, especially from last summer. If you guys have noticed, I don't share nearly as much about myself as I used to. It's not safe, and it hurts too much because of these people. But I'm getting better. I will say this. I have a lot of friends local now, as well as all my old friends, some of my old friends, who are there as amazing pillars of support. So thank you to them. But one special person I want to give a shout out to, and that's Martin Fowler. And specifically, why Martin? Martin Fowler, for those that don't know, Martin Fowler is a really big deal in his field of work. I had no idea who Martin Fowler was until he became a patron, and I saw, oh, he has a little verified tick mark next to his name. I'm like, oh, who's this guy? And so, because I'm not in the computer science and programming world, but he's a really big deal over there. I know him as Martin Fowler. He's my friend. I genuinely appreciate his point of view on things because with him being a legitimate celebrity in his line of work, he deals with this as well. And so helping me be able to cope with this and understand how ugly the world can be and how to just to it. I'm not real good at yet, but I'm getting there. And big thank you to Martin for that, as well as Jess and everybody else who gets to listen to me bitch about some of this stuff. So, and Skippin here says comes with the territory, but it shouldn't, Skippin. It doesn't give permission for people to be ugly. Just because I give my opinions, so that gives people permission to be ugly about it because I have a platform? No. Flat out no. You're wrong. It's not okay. No. Sorry. Anyway, soapbox off. There you go. So, Luke, I hope that answers your question. So, I'm not going to change the way I am. You guys are still going to know more about me than you know probably about anybody else, for better or for worse. There are a lot of people out there that hate my podcast because you know what? I talk about that on the what we call the front end of the show. I talk about what all's going on and stuff. There are a lot of people that don't like that. There are folks that much prefer. There are podcasts out there that games from the very beginning, and that's it, and that's all they want, and that's okay. But it's my show. This is how I have run it from the beginning, with Tony, and then with Amanda, and now with me. It's how I choose to run it, and that's okay. So it's not going to be for everybody. I don't expect it to be, but yeah, there you go. James says, heading to Origins 2019. Hope to see you there. You'll see me there. Origins is definitely on the calendar. So what do we have? We have I'm going to, with some friends, to a gathering this weekend. And then I have HeavyCon. at the end of May. Then Origins, that's as far as we've made it. I know that for sure Essen's on the list. Past that, I don't know. I don't know about Gen Con, don't know about BGG. Well, I have BGG tickets in a hotel, but we'll see. Same with Unplugged and some others. So we'll see on that. All right. Max, yes, there will be an escape plan playthrough in May. Max. G says, Edward, my father used to say I can only be insulted by people smarter than I am, and I've never been insulted in my life. Oh, if that's the case, I've been insulted a lot because there are a lot of smart people I interact with. I love your tact. Keep it up. I try. James says, I think don't be ugly is the contract to join the Slack channel. Pretty much. So this is pretty amazing. So we have roughly 700 a moment. We have 750 thereabouts, minus some of the annuals I haven't renewed, whatever. But there you go. Shad Ghost. Cheers, Shad Ghost. Got a new patron. Awesome. So talking about the Slack channel, which is only open to patrons. It's behind a paywall, some people say. Okay. But here is something amazing that I like to scream from the rooftops. This is not a challenge, by the way. We have roughly, let's call it 675 people in the Slack channel. We have a number of moderators. Not a single thing has ever been moderated in the Slack channel. We have told people, hey, ease back. But it's never been moderated. Online community in 2019, that's staggering to me. So kudos to the herd. Thank you for being awesome. And I assure you, I get my fair share of criticism in the Slack channel. But nobody is ugly about it in there. And I appreciate that. And there are plenty of disagreements, whether it's even when I'm not involved, like disagreements between other herd members. Never had to moderate in there. We've asked people to, hey. We've actually had people apologize. We've had people change their opinion on things. This is unheard of online. I'm somewhat saying this tongue in cheek, but legitimate. It's a pretty amazing community. So thank you to everybody out there for helping make that an amazing community. Thank you. Let's see. Robert asks, how is moving and finding other friends in a different state? Were they already fans of Heavy Cardboard? Yes, they already were patrons, the majority of them, or I had already gone to game days here before I'd moved, so I kind of knew these people, plus a number of these people I've met at conventions as well. And so, yes, everybody that you see on streams is a patron. They're not on streams because they're patrons. They're on streams because they're part of the game group, and I've limited the game group to patrons just because of space issues. There are a couple other people that have asked to be in, and I've invited them, and they show up, and they're welcome as long as they're pleasant and will present well. Then they're welcome. There you go, Rainer. Let's put it this way: Martin Feller has a Wikipedia page. Heavy Cardboard does not. Exactly. All right, take care, Luke. Thanks. Dylan, is getting the Golden Geek for the podcast an aspiration of yours? I don't know if I'd call it an aspiration. I mean, I feel like, boy, this is going to sound trite, but I don't mean it to. I feel like it's an eventuality. Like sometime, because previous winners aren't allowed to win it again. So that's one more that can't win it every year. So eventually, in theory, the show's going to win it. And honestly, it's a popularity thing. So is it an aspiration? No. I mean, do I appreciate the fact that people listen to the podcast? Yes. Or else, why do I hit publish? Same thing goes for watching the live streams or watching this or anything else like that. I appreciate. I'm not doing it for accolades. I'm not, believe it or not, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it to be able to make a living, to sustain myself. But I'm doing it because I'm passionate about this. So as long as people still enjoy it, and those people outweigh the people that don't enjoy it, then I'll probably still do it. I can definitely say that about the YouTube channel. Dragon, if I like something, I watch it. If I don't like it or stop liking it, I stop watching it. No need to be nasty. Huh. Novel. Oh. Cheers, Max. All right. Thank you. Thanks for the support, y'all. I appreciate it. James Davis, HeavyCon local? Like, is it local to me? Yes. It's going to be about 20 minutes away from where I live. Nick says, hair looks good. Thank you. So that's a little inside joke. So Jess posted a picture of me getting my hair cut at my barber on Instagram, I think it was, last week. So I have an amazing barber, which I owe a big thank you to Peter over at the post office for turning me on to Over the Top Barbers, the Over the Top Barbershop in Stoneham, which it's about a 6-minute drive from here. Some of these guys are competition barbers and all that. Dude does a good job. I'm happy with the faux hawk. Thank you. Yes, Vince, like and subscribe. If you guys like the stuff we do, do so. The likes help us. I prefer thumbs up, but thumbs help. Subscribe, that's so you guys, well, subscribe. But also, don't forget the little bell down below. That way you get notified usually when we go live. And if you want to be like, well, the fellas who just became new patrons, where is it? I can never aim this right. Down here, coming across the bottom here in a little bit, pledgehc.com. Kind of like what Max and Shad Ghost just became. So thank you, guys. Tails Teller says, I love the show because the games are the main course, but the restaurant offers much more than that. I appreciate that. All the handsome people are members of Slack. Felix says, Edward, the reason I became a patron is because of your openness. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Honestly, I don't know how else to be. I've reined it in, like I said, I got beat down a bit, and if you touch a hot stove and you get burned, you're more reticent to touch that hot stove again. So, but I'm me. Franny, moderating for heavy cardboard's the easiest job ever, right? Seriously. Roberto. How many plays off camera do you do with friends during a week? A handful. It all depends on how the timing of things. So game days are usually most Sundays here. Sometimes Saturday, like there's going to be a Saturday one before Easter because Easter. But Sunday game days, and then know this, if we're not live streaming on a night, there's probably an 80% chance that we are playing a game to get ready for a live stream. So how often? It all depends on what we were able to do during that game day on Sunday and what else we were able to do during the week and where we're able to get plays of games. So it's like playing Tetris with a schedule, trying to fit in everyone's schedule, but also coordinate off-screen playthroughs. And sometimes they just can't happen for other folks. So sometimes people come in cold to be able to live stream a game for you guys. And we do the best we can to try and get multiple plays in. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. So there's that. All right. And wow, we are on fire. today. Cheers, Dustin. You guys are making me feel good today. I really appreciate this, guys. Thank you. It's been a hard week, so thank you. Lawrence says, I really like your sharing about the difficulty of sharing info about yourself publicly. So, hey, Steph. Hi. I hope things are going well in Ohio. I hope you and Aaron are doing well. Good to see you around. Lauren says, I agree, since on the one hand, it helps the channel be more real. The other hand, it gives the haters a bigger bullseye. Really like your stuff. Sorry for the bad grammar. Greetings from Germany. No, not Essen. Hey, you convey the idea. No harm, no foul, Lawrence. Thank you. We're in Germany because I really want to go travel in Germany. And Miniature Wonderland is on my bucket list of things to see. If you guys are not familiar with Miniature Wonderland, Google it. I'm not going to look it up. I want to say it's in Hamburg, but I could just be making up a random German city. I apologize. It is the world's biggest miniature or model railroad layout in the world. Something like 200,000 square feet. Something like 120 computer systems operate it. Over 100 people, I think, work to run it. It is the most awe-inspiring model railroad layout I've ever seen. As someone who has always wanted to build model railroad layouts, bucket list place. Love it there. All right. So there's that. Max, I wanted to be number 7 at 750. I was too slow. I'm excited for whoever's number 753, Max. So I appreciate it. I don't care if you're number 1 or number 752. I appreciate it nonetheless. I'll officially welcome you, and I welcome. And I feel like I've done this pretty much across the board. I send a handwritten note, well, hand-typed note to every new patron when they join. So thank you. Because you know what? If you guys take the time to support the show, I think I can take the time out of my day to personally welcome you to the herd and say thanks for supporting the show. So thank you. I do make the effort to do that. Sometimes it's a little slow, but I do get there. Meeple Overboard. Ahoy, Edward. Wanted to drop by, say thanks for all the great stuff you do. Well, thanks for stopping by, Mo. I appreciate it, and thank you. MBO. I'm glad HeavyCon is now on the East Coast. Now maybe if I get an invite one day, I'll be able to go. I like your chances, MBO. So just FYI. Dylan, Edward, were you a fan and inspired by the Longview podcast with Jeff Gamble? It kind of feels like you took up the mantle there in some ways. So, okay, let's go back to that. So for the podcast, back before the podcast existed, I listened to a ton of podcasts because I worked in aviation. I worked avionics on civilian helicopters, turning regular helicopters into life flight helicopters, and everything from installing new systems, repairing old systems, and tricking out aircraft for turning them into life flight helicopters. So I had headphones in pretty much 8 hours a day. So I would listen to a bunch of board game podcasts as well as non-board game podcasts. My very first and favorite podcast of all time still is The History of Rome. The History of Rome by, oh God, same guy who does Revolutions now. Anyway, History of Rome. I want to say it was like 177 episodes. They're 10 to 15 minutes long about, well, the history of Rome. It's amazing. Fantastic job. And I also listen to a bunch of podcasts. Obviously, I listen to the Dice Tower. I listen to the Secret Cabal a little bit. I listen to the Game Pit. I listen to Game On with Cody and John. I listened to Jeff Gamble's Longview, and others that I can't think of off the top of my head. And I kept listening to all of these, and the overwhelming majority of them weren't talking about the games that me and my friends like to play. So I was always raised, if you're going to complain about something or have an opinion about, man, why won't these guys talk about the games that I want to play? I was always raised, well, offer a solution. So I created that solution. I went to Tony and said, hey, do you want to start a podcast with me? And there you go. And that's how Heavy Cardboard became. And so, yes, Jeff Gamble was one of the inspirations behind starting the podcast. And Jeff Gamble has also become a friend. He is a very awesome human being. And I am grateful to call him friend. And yes, I would say him and Cody and John, Game On, were probably the biggest inspirations for doing the podcast. So there you go. Yeah. Glad you asked that, Dylan. MBO asks, what's my favorite strategy to play in Through the Ages? Everybody seems to think I'm a warmonger, and I'm really not. So, I don't know, culture-based, engine building as far as being able I'm getting my words all messed up, but not a military one. I sometimes am forced in that direction. But that is definitely not my cup of tea if I had my druthers. By the way, people make fun of me because I say if I had my druthers, because only like 2 people in the world apparently say that anymore. But there you go. Nick, is there a light game that you love to play which is nothing like heavy games you showcase on streams? My guilty pleasure is Wasabi Dice. It's stupid, it's fun, it's stupid fun. Honestly, my favorite silly game, if you would, Rhino Hero was a lot of fun when I played that at Gamma. But my all-time favorite is Time's Up. Title Recall is my all-time favorite. Although, in a game that you're going to see streamed at some point, and it's probably going to be a Glory to Rome stream because I don't want to have to self-edit on this one, is Wavelength. We played Wavelength at BGG Con, and just Google it. It was arguably one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. It is, oh hell, I'll just try it. Split into teams. One team, you randomly set a dial, and a dial is on a 180-degree, it's a line somewhere in between here. And then you get a card that says, smells good, smells bad. And if the line is, right here, and you have to guess, or you as the person who looks at the come up with, knowing you're the only one that knows where the line is. So you cover it, and then you present the card, and you have to give a description or say what if the line were pegged all the way up, you would do grandma's cookies, grandma's warm cookies out of the oven when you're hungry. That would be pegged all the way up, right? Or something that smells terrible, like durian. And wherever that is, and you want to try and get, people to guess around close, or the other team to not guess where. Anyway, amazing experience. So I would love, that would probably be my guilty pleasure game that I want to stream. I don't care if it fits or not. I just want to show that game off. That would be amazing. So there's that. Wow, you guys are on fire. This might be a record. Welcome, Benjamin. Cheers. Thank you for the welcome to the herd, Benjamin. All right, Meeple Overboard asks, what in general is best for a viewer to do to support Heavy Cardboard? Patreon is first. I imagine what's next? Like the YouTube videos, share your Twitter updates, etc. Spread the word. That's the biggest thing. I would argue that spreading the word is probably bigger than or on par with supporting the show over on pledgehc.com. because getting more people to know about the show, it's amazing to me. And this is not disparaging at all. Rahdo's been at this a whole lot longer than I have. And Richard is a friend of mine, and I think he does really amazing work. I think it's awesome what he does. But he has about 10 times the audience that Heavy Cardboard does. So you're telling me that how do these people not know about the show yet? How am I not reaching these people? That's where y'all can help. That's the biggest thing. That, and obviously support the show, pledgehc.com. You can go support the show there financially, or subscribe, obviously, like stuff, but spread the word. Spread the word locally, like to offline to people. Spread people online to the various places. Twitter, Facebook, BGG, the place that we don't talk about. Wherever you want to spread word, do so. It's up to you. That's the biggest thing. So there you go. That's the biggest way to support. Thank you. Dragon, if you had a shot of whiskey instead of tea for each new patron, you'd be in serious trouble by now. Yeah, especially since I got to go sign the paperwork for HeavyCon as soon as we're done. Good problem to have. I'm happy with that. Oh, Shad Ghost says, so he said, sorry, Max, because Max wanted to be number 750. I did not even see that the live stream was going on until after I became a patron. Also, hi from the Netherlands. Hi, Shad. Welcome. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. Vince, his day drinking has caught up to him. He finally went to sleep on vacation in Taipei. So sleep well, Vince. Yes, I nailed it. Miniature Wonderland is in Hamburg. Over 300 employees, 16,000 square feet. That's insane. That's amazing. Oh, Lauren says, I live in Hamburg. And yes, Miniature Wonderland is awesome. It sprawls over 4 floors now, I think, including USA, Africa theme, everything crazy. I cannot wait to see that at some point. Yes. Bill says, I do appreciate the hand-typed note that I welcome each patron with. I appreciate that. That is something that I think sets me apart. I don't know that many other people do that. So, yeah, I've done it from day one. So, thank you, Bill. I'm glad you like that. Lawrence, Hamburg plus Berlin, always worth a visit. Cold German beer waiting. Or, warm tea. I appreciate that. I was going to say, yeah, Rainer, 16,000 square feet is of the model airport as part of Miniature Wonderland. The railway at Miniature Wonderland, as of 3 years ago, is over 50,000 feet long. Takes up 73,000 square feet of space. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit closer. Yeah. James asks, does Patreon take a big cut out of our pledge? Meaning if you go to pledgehc.com or you go to patreon.com/heavycardboard, would you get more money if we signed up outside of Patreon? Basically, including, fees for Patreon. So here, Patreon takes 5%. Okay. And then for fees for processing, whether it's through PayPal or through, credit card, whatever, the general gist is we get about 91% of it. And people ask, is it better to do that or to go and do like an annual subscription? It's negligible. We do get some a bit more than if you do it through other ways. But honestly, I kind of prefer Patreon. If you are asking me, what do I prefer? How do I prefer? I prefer Patreon because honestly, the number that shows up there is the easiest number to show so people see that. And I think seeing that helps. So I think that's why I would say that I prefer Patreon being the way to do it. I'm not going to argue about any way that you choose to support the show. Understand that. But if you're asking me for which I prefer, that would be it. Okay. All right. Felix says, I play with Jeff Gambo. Tell Jeff I said hi. All right. Oh, God, no. Doubloon7 asks, do you have plans to design your own game, or have you ever attempted to design your own game? If you have, what happened to it? No. I am one of the very few people in the hobby, and especially within the industry, that has zero interest in designing a game. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm in awe of the games that we play. Regardless of how simple or how complex the game is. I have no idea how designers come up with the crap they come up with. And I am equally in awe of developers on how they take what is often a rough idea from a designer and make it into the published, streamlined amazingness that these games are. I have zero interest. Developing, I think I could probably do okay in, but that's not the direction I choose to go in with this. But no, designing, zero interest ever. And I never have, and I can't imagine that changes. That's just not the way my brain works. Adam says Wavelength is fantastic. See? NBO asks, I really like the backdrop that you put up both here and the old house in Colorado. It's the same backdrop. How hard is it to put up and to build and put up the walls and the shelf behind you? So it is not what it appears to be. And I don't know if I'm willing to let that out. But how hard is it? It requires a fair bit of work. But if you are willing to put in the work, it's really not that it can be done. And the drapes, obviously, like this drape over here covers the door, right? Because I don't want you guys to see that. Try and make it look professional and try and make it look cozy in here. And so it's all about movie magic, right? That is a whole lot of boxes at the P.O. box, apparently. Wow. So we got a whole lot of stuff coming to Heavy Cardboard. This is exciting. It's like Christmas. I don't know what it is. So awesome. Sleep well, Lawrence. Thanks again for the support. Cheers. All right. So I got a few. I have caught up. Hey, look at that. Hi. We're live. That's awesome. I'm actually caught up with everything. Now let's go back to the guild. Answer those questions. Again, if people take the time to ask, I feel I have a responsibility to answer the questions that you guys put forth, as long as they're respectful. All right, so Gabriel, what's your prediction for the Reds? A lot lower than it was before the season started. Man, I was hoping for a 500 season, which it could be still. Oh, it's been a rough start. Have I listened to Tides of History or History Unplugged podcast? I haven't, but I'm going to. I wrote them down when Gabriel asked about that. He asked, how's my dog doing? How's Asher? So for those that don't know, when I moved to, oh boy, here we go. When I moved to Boston, the place that I was able to get is 3 floors, and Asher's back hips wouldn't have been agreeable to all the stairs. So I gave him, or I allowed a caretaker to take care of him who lives in a ranch, on a ranch. So a 1-story house on a ranch with 2 other greyhounds. And when I took him over there, he was thrilled. And so I still get updates on how he's doing. He's doing well. I miss my dog incredibly. I still think of him as my dog. I miss him, but he's doing well. And I did what was best for him, even if that was arguably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, outside of saying bye to my mom and dad when they passed. So that hurt. That was really hard to do, but I feel like love is doing what is best for that person and not for yourself, and or in that entity being Asher. And so I did what was right for him. So there you go. He's doing well. Thanks for asking, Gabriel. What makes a great convention to attend? First and foremost, good people. A library with games that folks want to play. I think that's the most important thing, the people, and having a good space, not fragmenting the space too much. So things that make HeavyCon special to me. Here we go. Let's see. Well, we have a catered dinner every Friday night. So the Friday of HeavyCon, it's part of the entry. Yes, HeavyCon is still invite only. Yes, it has a wait list. It's invite only because I want to be able to handpick who comes, but also, more importantly, I want to know how many people are going to come. If I open it up to anybody and I don't know if I have the space, I just don't want to deal with that headache, number one. And number two, I don't want to run a convention all weekend. I want it to kind of run itself. And so keeping it to the size that it is allows me to do that. But we have a catered dinner on Friday. So I don't care what's going on. Everybody stops what they're doing and we go have dinner together there at the convention as a group of friends. That's a big deal to me. Then we do the Golden Elephant Award presentation. Then we do the giveaways for all the giveaways that people will have gotten early. Then we also, throughout the HeavyCon, for the first couple days, we also do voting for the People's Choice Award, and it's 24/7 gaming with like-minded folks. There you go. That's what makes a good convention, I think. People that want to spend time with one another and are pleasant to play with. The end. I think that's the most important thing. And making sure that it is an environment where everybody's comfortable and everyone feels safe and comfortable. I mean, common sense stuff, right? My favorite mechanism? Probably auctions. How do you feel about GMT taking Scramble for Africa off its P500? I addressed that earlier. If you had a chance, what's another board game company out there that you would like to work with? I think GMT would probably be up there. There are probably a few others off the top of my head that Splatter would definitely be one. Yeah, there you go. There's a couple. Lewis says, do you have time to listen to other board gaming podcasts? If so, which are your favorite and why? Not really. A little bit here or there. I listen to podcasts usually when I'm driving to and from Springfield to go play poker. That's the majority of my time. And honestly, I listen to Hardcore History. I listen to Weekly Poker Hand by Jonathan Little. I listen to Red Chip Poker. I listen to Revolutions. I listen to Criminal. If only my phone was right in front of me and I could list some of the others that I actually listen to. Crime Town, which I really miss there. No Sleep Podcasts. Limetown. Rabbits. The Truth. Just Hands. And Serial when it's out there. The Dream and the City and the Moth. There you go. I intentionally didn't list all the board game podcasts that I'm subscribed to, but because they're always, they're going to be, oh, why didn't you? Yeah. So, but I don't listen to a ton of them. Honestly, I don't have time. So there's that. I do listen to them on occasion here and there. Lewis says, I'm liking your guest host model of podcast reviews, especially when the guest is really experienced at the game being reviewed. I appreciate that. It's not always going to be the case, but I do try. So I'm glad to hear that, Lewis. Nemo's War solo playthrough coming sometime soon. Coming this summer. Yes. Keep up the stellar work. There you go. I am caught up with that. Awesome. Skippin says, I never said it was right, just said it happens. That is true. But you know what? We can do our part to not let people get away with being ugly. Just because it does happen doesn't mean it should, and we can't stand up to it. I mean, it's a form of bullying, really, when you think about it, isn't it? So, yes, Dan Carlin is awesome. I agree. There are a lot of people out there that say he puts his own spin on. It's a podcast. I don't take it as gospel. It's damn entertaining. I really enjoy it. I am a huge Dan Carlin fan. I actually reached out to Dan to ask if he would do a bumper for Heavy Cardboard, meaning, hey, this is Dan Carlin of Hardcore History. You're listening to Heavy Cardboard. I got his assistant. His assistant says, sorry, don't have the time. Dan doesn't have the time to do it. I'll be honest, I didn't expect any kind of response, so I tried. But yeah, so there you go. I am caught up, and it's 4:20. I have to go sign paperwork for HeavyCon and start sending out invites and all that, which will happen in a couple days. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you for hanging out and spending your afternoon or evening or whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, New Zealand, Germany, China, Taipei, here in the U.S., wherever you are. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe. Remember to support the show. Support the show two main ways. PledgeHC.com. You want to support the show financially and help the show grow and hopefully get to the point to where we can afford PTZ cameras, pan tilt zoom cameras for some games, including block war games, games like High Frontier. Go to PledgeHC.com, support the show there, and help those things become a reality. And the other way to support the show is spread the word. Tell folks. Speak about Heavy Cardboard. Tell folks. So if you enjoy it, tell folks about it. Those are the two main ways. All right? So thank you. I appreciate everybody taking the time. I appreciate you guys making the effort. And for those that choose to support the show, here, patrons, spreading the word, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for allowing me to live my dream and do this. Haters be damned. There's a lot more folks that enjoy that don't, and I appreciate it. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and join me tomorrow, 1500 Eastern Daylight Time for Hornet Leader Solo War Game. All right? Take care, y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.